Hello? Anybody else there?
Just me.
Really nobody else, huh?
I was going to sit in the front end of your meeting to see what you had to say relative to Gary and company.
Yeah. No, I just thought it was appropriate that,
Did you make the post on, I put his obituary up on the Our Town, Our Future site, and then someone added something in an answer to the post. Was that you or Margaret?
I think I did.
Here's Margaret.
Margaret.
Hello, all. Sorry, I was enjoying our yummy patty pan squash dinner, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm late. I just ran in the door from playing golf. They usually schedule me a little earlier, but I got way late, so I'm a little late, but this is not encouraging. I did send out, you saw the email I sent out, trying to get at least feedback from people. And I did receive some feedback, at least from Terry Wakeman. He said, if it's going to be Zoom, he would resign, but if it's going to be in person, he'd like to continue. And I did talk with Bill Folletti, and they did have that meeting a week or so ago. That was like the first one that they did, kind of a hybrid in the town hall, and it had some glitches, but it's doable. So, you know, I don't know whether if we can get enough members, maybe we could do an in-person one next month, and you know, with the hybrid.
The Republican Town Committee met in the big conference room last night, and they just did it all in person.
Yeah. So I think that's what we'll do, but I know it's kind of discouraging. I didn't get even any emails back on the people that said they weren't going to be coming or not. So I don't know what we do. And and I just, you know, Jasmine, I guess I sent it on to you, Margaret, but I guess Jasmine decided not to join EDC after all. So.
Ooh.
And then I did talk with Bill Folletti, and he said he was going to bring it up at the Republican Town Committee meeting, the next one they have.
Which was last night.
Did he bring it up?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Okay, yeah.
It was all in person, and I've not been going out.
Yeah. So I mean, he was going to talk with Jerry Nagy there, and then see if they could get some members, at least to fill your spot, Richard. And but I don't know what we do with. I mean, I'll reach out. I do know Carrie Olson. Maybe I'll reach out to her. Again,
she basically has got commitments at most evenings, so she agreed to, you know, sit on the committee just as a placeholder, but she was ready to resign if there was an opening. You know, I think, Margaret, you might want to reach out to those young fellows that showed up for one of the previous meetings, you know.
Yeah, they had come to the Our Town, Our Future meeting, and I have some sad news about Dave, because he was definitely on board and enthused to join our initiative, but his partner Amelia got a great job offer back on the West Coast, so they're leaving Ashford to return to the West Coast. So he will not be with us any longer, and I'm sad for that, and he was too. So, and then I can reach out to Eddie, but that was in Our Town, Our Future interest that he had. But Mike and I, had a chat with, we ran into Jasmine. The three of us were chatting at the farmer's market, and she had a couple of other folks who she thought might also be young business people who might have an interest in, you know, one of them, you know, the fellow from Bottle Farm, although you indicated that he would also have a scheduling issue. But I think she mentioned Brendan Tuller, who has a landscaping business in town and lives in Ashford Park. So again, I think we just need to really think about individuals and kind of hand select them and ask them. And I think that's going to be our only strategy for filling these spots. So
The other thing that you might want to do is I had put up a post on the Our Town, Our Future using Uncle Sam, we want you kind of graphic, looking for people of interest. And at the time, I got like 3 or 4 people expressing interest. None of them panned out, but that's gets quite a bit of interest.
I think that we need to, yeah, like follow up on that. If they sort of chime in and say yes, and then go from there.
We have Manu who has joined us. You need to unmute.
Good evening. Can you hear us, Manu? We can't hear you.
Manu, unmute. Margaret, you're muted too.
Yeah, maybe his microphone isn't working when he does unmute.
It shows it as being muted.
Well, anyhow, I think unfortunately, it looks like we're not going to have a quorum, are we? So,
No, disappointing. Well, I think that we just need to talk to these guys individually, Mike. So you've heard from Terry. I'll reach out to John.
which John?
John Rett.
Okay, I'll talk to John Cabrisi.
John Rett was interested in becoming involved. I spoke with him the other day. He's been having quite a few health issues. Didn't talk to John Calarisi, but I think if he's available, he will definitely participate.
Yeah, well,
His traveling sometimes brings him home late at night.
yeah. No, it's definitely everybody's got some juggling to do, and it's a commitment, that's for sure. So appreciate everybody's time when they can give it. Yeah, the only thing I would add, I mean, just informationally, is that I think the town, it's going to come out in the next issue, September issue of the Ashford Citizen, but they're going to be holding a public hearing. I think it's September 8th. I think it's a Thursday, for this grant that they're applying for the final remediation for the Kettle Rock property. So, I'm trying to get more information on that, and I know Bill did talk to me about it a little bit, but I think they're looking. I mean, the thing is, EPA is going to be looking for the town to determine what they want to do with the property. So I still believe, and I did mention it to Bill, that I think they should get some professional expertise to help on developing what I call a master plan of sorts. And that is something that's fundable through the Brownsfield grant program. So I did mention to him, and I did try to reach out to one of their former consultants and see if it gets some input. And I did reach out to somebody else who's in the business that lives locally here in Ashford, and actually had worked on a project a number of years ago too. So and they said that that certainly is the way to go is to get some people that can help the town, look at the property, what the potential is, what it can be used for, what it can't be used for, and so that we can get a good public process in place, so we get everybody's input and that all the interests of the community are taken into consideration. I think there's certainly people that have an interest in keeping it more in its natural environment. But I think personally, just from my 10,000 foot view, that the property has something to offer for everybody, and I don't believe there's an economic value to it immediately, but I think we have to plan even 10, 20, 30 years down the road and at least have something in place, so if the opportunity comes, that we can at least generate some tax dollars off that. And also, like I said, it's big enough where it has value for recreational or other environmental purposes as well. But I think we need somebody that has those professional ability to kind of show and put that paintbrush to a canvas, to show what the value, what things can be used on what parts of the property, and then we need to solicit public input. And I think that's certainly what the Board of Selectmen, I believe, want to do as well. But I'm just concerned that if this meeting, the public hearing, because it's a remediation, it may bring a crowd that's expecting some different results, or what are we going to do with it right now? And I don't believe, at least from our perspective, and EDC's perspective, that we have anything we can truly offer that's knowledgeable and right. So I think the process would take a little bit longer, but I think we got to bring some of those people on board, and just how do we get there is the biggest question I still have.
Yeah, my 2 cents worth is Courtney Henderson at CERC has offered to do things. Before I stepped down, I had offered to reach out to her. I can send the contact information for her. We are a member of of her organization. And she basically said she would work on our behalf with the anticipation of a grant coming downstream, so it wouldn't cost anything up front. So that's one thing that you might consider. Mike, the other thing is that I've got quite a few. I haven't saved everything, but I've got a pretty decent file on the EDC. I can send that to you and to Margaret.
Okay, thank you.
And some of it, I've got some paper, but most of it's duplicated electronically. And I planned on sitting in on the front end of this to talk about what we may or may not do for Gary, and to express my encouragement for everyone to continue. I think, as I told Mike, didn't have a chance to talk to you, to Margaret, but I'm pulling back on a lot of things, not just on the EDC. I am going to serve out my term for planning and zoning, but I've stepped back from all the things that I was doing on the Republican Town Committee. So, I mean, it's with everything that's gone on, and I've got more than just my back to worry about. There's been several other things that have popped their heads up that I'm dealing with. So I just got to deal with those things and not worry about, other commitments at this point in time.
Thank you. Understandable. Just FYI, I did send on behalf of the EDC at least a card to Preetha. So she should have probably gotten that today. And I will be attending the wake tomorrow night, or tomorrow afternoon, evening. I don't know what else beyond that at this point. Certainly, it's a big loss to the community, that's for sure, for Gary. When too young, that's for sure, in my opinion. And what he did for the community. I mean, I only knew him for the last 20 years or so. But, he was always doing something. He was involved in so many things. He set the tone for a lot of certainly the real estate community, and then obviously what he did for ABA and EDC and the other things that I don't even know. So I mean, it just he's a-
Yeah,
he's a guy very involved and knowledgeable. I mean, certainly he's got what he knew about the not only Ashford, the region is just that in itself is such a loss, devastating loss.
yeah. He regretted, he actually had raised the bucket of his loader and was standing up on the bucket trying to reach something when he lost his balance and fell.
Hmm.
He, I don't know how many things he broke, but he had multiple concussions and was in a coma. So, I mean, it's not surprising that he passed. What was surprising to me is that he called me when he was in the hospital, and he seemed pretty lucid at that point, but he was just going through all the things that happened to him. So, with all,
Well, one thought that I had is, and I didn't feel like I should put it together for the September issue because I felt like there should be some input and review, but in our little column that we're starting to do for EDC, or as an additional little box, I thought that maybe we could do a little tribute to him. If I could get a nice picture of him from Freetha, or, but to sort of thank him publicly for his years. I don't know how long he served with EDC, and I guess I'd have to find that out from Sherry. But yeah, it's funny. I met him for the first time. We were both volunteering with the Windham County Farm Bureau at the Woodstock Fair. He always picked up a stint, sitting at the booth at the Woodstock Fair on behalf of Farm Bureau. He was a loyal Farm Bureau member. So I kind of knew him that way before I started working with him with EDC. But, when we were doing stuff with those properties, when we were trying to market the Moore property and some of the other properties in town, his expertise and knowledge was so valuable. And then also the work we put in when we were trying to market to banks. We hosted, he hosted one of those meetings at his office one time, if you recall. And so, yeah, he certainly contributed a lot to our commission. And I've always felt badly. I never felt that when Dave Rochelle resigned and then passed, that we ever acknowledged Dave's contributions early on EDC. So I think it would be really nice if we could do that for Gary. So I'll try to draft something and get it off to you and see if you feel that it's fitting.
Yeah. And by the way, for a picture, the picture on his obituary is easily, you can capture it, and that's a pretty good picture of him.
Okay.
Yeah, he definitely, and he had a sense of humor that was unique, and he could always get you kind of laughing. That was you didn't always think he thought he was a serious guy, but he had this sense of humor that was kind of dry at times, but very, very thoughtful too. He got me a few times. I know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think the ABA is also trying to do something for him. It looks like, from what I can see, that the ABA is going to dissolve. Mm-hmm. They're putting out an email to everyone asking what they want to do. The real problem is that they don't have anyone that is developing any programs or things that brings them together. They've been like the same 6 or 8 people have been getting together at the tree company's barn and having a few beers, and that's it. And they've decided, that doesn't really do it. There was some hope that if the Midway would rebuild and George and Peter would, take over again, that they may hold a car cruise there, but that's years off. So I suspect that the ABA is going to dissolve, and then there'll be a vote as to what to do with the money in the Treasury, which last time I heard was somewhere in the order of $5,000 or $6,000 and probably donated to some sort of charity.
Maybe a scholarship would be a good thing.
Yeah, maybe a scholarship in Gary's name. So, but anyhow, that's kind of what's happened with them. I'm going to ring off because Gloria's making supper, and I'm going to have to eat it before it's cold.
Well, I just want to, what I want to do, Richard, is just to publicly thank you, for your efforts and what time you put in, the blood, sweat, and tears that you've given to this committee. And obviously you've kind of tied and bonded the activities of the planning and zoning with economic development, and certainly what you did for the POCD back there in 2015. And I mean, you certainly have given more than your fair share of time to this community to try to make it the best place it can be. And so I wanted to at least publicly thank you for all your time and efforts. And I know it's, and wish you well. Understand that health is a priority in everybody's life. So, I said, you've done yeoman's job, and like I said, again, you have that institutional knowledge and everything that, hopefully we can, if we need some help or need to pick your brain on some things, we can still pick up the phone or email you. And
yeah, we can do that for sure. And I would like to remind Margaret that she was the one that suggested that I get involved in it.
so there you go.
Many years ago.
Wow, I had forgotten that. I knew I'd recruited a couple of these folks, but I'd forgotten I recruited you. Well, that was a good recruit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We got our money's worth out of that. Well, yeah. Your expertise, your business savvy, and you were definitely stepping out of a hustle bustle world, and I knew you would be a big contributor, and a big asset to us, and clearly that has shown. So we'll really miss having your guidance, and you've really been the glue these last couple of years while we've been struggling. So that I especially appreciate, that you've kind of kept the ball moving down the field. And we definitely will be calling to say, do you remember? So thank you, Richard, and I hope you feel better.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is my recovery from the back surgery is proceeding forward. When I came out of the surgery, my right leg was, I don't want to say paralyzed, but the nerve that controlled it was zero. So it just collapsed when I tried to stand on it. Thanks to a lot of good physical therapists, I'm back to having about 70-80% of my strength back in my right leg. And I think with continued physical therapy, I'll be on the right track for that. Unfortunately, I managed to find a bunch of other things, none that I think at this point are life-threatening, but they're going to require some surgeries. Last thing I need is more surgeries, but
yeah,
it's going to require at least one surgery and maybe a biopsy. So the hopes that none of this stuff is super serious, but it's still going to be something to deal with, so I've had my share of hospitals and operating rooms and all that sort of stuff to last me for years and years. But
well, hang in there. Best of luck.
Yeah.
So guys, I'll send that electronic stuff off to both of you.
And anything in anything paper, I think, maybe we just get it deposited into those file drawers in the town hall, just so that there is some, paper record of things if we don't need them,
Yeah, as opposed to Ray, I pretty much kept everything that I did electronic and then just printed it out. So I don't have a whole lot that is paper only, but I'll see what there is, and I'll put it in a envelope and send it to one of you. I won't send it to both of you because the postage will be too much. But I think most everything that I have is all electronic. There is definitely a file. It goes back to Bill Darcy on the wagon shed. And there's also the file on all the bank projects and things like that. So I'll I'll pull that together. And if there is anything that is not duplicated electronically, I'll send it on to you guys.
Yeah, if it's a lot, if you want me to swing by and pick it up or whatever, just let me
Yeah,
know. We're willing to
that's,
do that. Save on
Yeah.
postage.
That would be simpler.
I'll let you know. I don't think there's a whole lot that's just paper only. So, and there's a pretty decent file electronically. So,
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks.
okay,
Take care.
guys,
Be in touch, Richard.
go forward
good.
and do good. We lost our fourth guy there. Is he one of the people that you had tried to recruit?
No,
I don't. Do you know Manu? I don't know. I think
No.
I've seen Manu before, but I don't.
yep, no, wasn't familiar with him, so. All right, thank you so much for coming out. Mike, what do you want to do? Do you want to chat for a few more minutes, or do you want to put our heads together in a few days? How do you want to do this? I know you've been out all day.
Whatever you want to. Do you have time or? Are you
Yeah, I can
Okay,
take
guys.
5 more minutes. Thanks,
Okay.
Richard.
Yeah, I'm gonna take guy.
Take care. Yeah.
Um,
Go ahead.
So I checked in with the town clerk today, and they did get our article, and we'll run it in the September issue. Were you okay with that?
Yes.
I mean, I thought that the article on Bottle Farm, what Shantae's going to put in the website is a little bit longer. I had to edit it back a little bit to fit that format, but I told Sherry I kind of like having that one column.
Right.
And with this idea of doing a feature on a business and then a little bit of something else.
Right.
So, I did acknowledge that we're trying to build a directory, and I did, plug, and I hope you don't mind that I used your personal email. We've got to figure out how to get that generic chair, EDC chair email working again. Because I think that's what's on our website, right? Is the EDC chair at Gmail?
It may be, you're right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how to do that. I'll ask around. I'm not sure how to.
Yeah, or create a different something similar that we can, because it's concerning to me that the emails, that they're going to.
Where does it go?
Space, right. So here we're promoting it. So that's, I don't know, I guess I just promoted the website, but. And then Shantae's articles for the next couple that she supplied, one is on Billy Freeman, your neighbor, who does that work with Surge is the name of his business, I think. And he's a videographer. So it is in pretty good shape. I still feel like it's kind of missing a little bit of what does that mean to John Q. Public, right?
Right.
But he's got some impressive credentials, and I think that could be a good story. And then the other one that she sent was on the High Hope soaps, which maybe is the one we run next, because again, it's a little more seasonal, I think, in that Mike does some farmer market stuff. But I was trying to, target things that are more seasonal, which is one reason that I had spoken to the folks who have the Ashford Garden Center, and he was very eager to be written up, but when she's reached out to him, I don't think she's been able to connect. And again, that being like a seasonal business, it's something that we should be talking about in this time of year. So in any event, I think we've got a decent article for September, and then we'll figure out, what we do for October, in addition to the Gary tribute.
Yep. Sounds good. Okay, and I guess I'll reach out to these. I'll talk with Ray again, and hey, Bob's probably still up in Maine.
Yeah, but I think he'll be back. I don't think, Gail will be starting school again. So I suspect that Bob will be back in the saddle with us.
But then we just have the two Johns, and Terry. I think Terry Wakeman. He indicated to me that he'd be interested in getting back involved once we meet in person. So I think we'll make an effort to make that next meeting in September. There in the lower section of the town hall, and in the meantime, try to work with the town staff to see how that has to run and be set up and all that jazz. If we want to still make it hybrid, yeah. And I'm trying to meet with the first selectman, and just to get maybe next week to talk about this Cattle Rock public hearing, and just obviously the board of selectmen have wanted EDC to be part of it, but obviously there's we want the whole community to be part of it in a sense. And I think right now it's I've said it a couple of times already, but it's kind of premature to say, oh, this is what we think should be done there, because I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows.
Well, I did speak with Catherine. She was over, and she was saying that they were pretty much on board with understanding that they needed to bring in a consultant, and that they were planning to move forward with hiring the consultant that initially did the study for them there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the name of the firm, but that they were talking to them again. So I think that I don't know that there's I don't know that they're pushing back. I think they recognize that we need to get someone involved who has who can do some sort of a master plan or some sort of a process with that, and that they have some ARPA funding that can be used in that way. I believe that that's what she said. So I think she just really wants to get a lot of people out for it on the 8th. And I think as EDC, we just need to continue to carry the torch that this is an opportunity for us as a community to generate some revenue, that that we really should be looking at some sort of mixed use that could be revenue generating, because we don't have that opportunity that comes along very often.
Yeah, I just hope that the 8th does become people have expectations of something happening. I don't think, from my limited knowledge of this public hearing and its purpose, is really part of to check off a box for Deep and EPA to put in for this remediation grant through Brownsfield. So yeah, I don't think it's a meeting where we're gonna where there's gonna be input to, hey, this is what we want to do per se, because it's not really the right time and place for it. But so I don't want people to be disappointed, I don't think, or have the the impression that the expectation that this is meetings for something other than just to go forward with this grant.
Yeah, well, let's it all depends on how they describe it in their public hearing description, right? And what the input is that they're looking for, right, as a public hearing. And it wouldn't hurt for someone who's articulate to do a 10 or 15 minute summary of, here's how much money is owed in back taxes, and here's, but now we can do this. And, I just feel like for people who haven't been as close to the project, just to give a summary of what is this opportunity, and what is this land.
Yeah, they did put that article in the last Citizen that kind of did that somewhat, it did provide some of those statistics, I'll say, but yeah, like I said, it's a big piece of property. It's important, for the future of the community in a sense, and I think it's important to have public input, but I think it's got to be done at the right time and place. And I've been to enough of these kind of public meetings where you just people come there with the wrong thought of what the meeting really is about, and they get disappointed quickly, and that we don't want that to happen either. I think
right.
I think at least it hopefully that gets ironed out, and between now and then. I think that's the goal of the Board of Selectmen, from what I understand. So it's all good.
Yep. Yeah, all right, that's good. So I guess then it's really getting to our members and seeing what their interest is and then beginning to build that list. And I had said that I would try to dig into it and be ready to start assigning, at least to those of us who we know are committed, you know, to reach out to some of these businesses. So.
Yeah, and I think last time, I think I indicated I had reached out to the town clerk, and their list of businesses, what they have is really is a database, and it really is that useful. Truthfully, I think the list we got from Cara Fisher there, I think was probably it's the most comprehensive list, and I think she has the capability of sorting it different ways, based upon use type. But even that list, if you look through it, it's hard to sometimes understand, they're doing business as, or you kind of glean what they're doing. But I think that's probably, unfortunately, the best list we have, other than personal knowledge or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's an evolving, it's a dynamic thing too. So it's, once you think you got it, it's changing. So
right,
we'll keep working at it. I think, my feeling, I don't know what you think about, we'll see where this EDC goes, but I think we've got to kind of set up almost like a strategic plan of our goals and objectives every year, what we think we need to work on, so we don't bite off too much, and we have a little more focus. And I mean, so that everybody feels like we're doing something other than kind of reliving the same thing over and over again, like the Groundhog Day movie here. And obviously the last few years have been difficult with the pandemic and everything else, but I think there's some things, if we take some little smaller bites on things, we can move some things forward in a positive way. But well, even you had a question or something about what was it here? Oh, what we should do for the Midway. I don't know. I mean, their insurance, those things, typically insurance companies, once they finalize the how it occurred and all that stuff, they usually take a lead on any kind of work. So I don't know what we could do unless there's some things that could help the employees or whatever. I don't know.
And just in terms of what should we do, I just wonder if we should just even reach out to them as EDC somehow. If we can get the phone number for the owners, and just we're reaching out as economic development. And I mean, I think what's interesting is that the outpouring and the fact that people suddenly, when you take a business like that out of the community that everybody trades at one time or another, and probably more frequently than a lot of our businesses, except for maybe Cumberland's. But people begin to understand, like, oh, there's a business providing a service that isn't there today, and gosh, we hope that they rebuild. And so for me, I feel like almost from a messaging perspective, it's without taking advantage of it, but to sort of be able to even, and again, maybe this is something we say in our October issue, that we're that this is such an important business in our community that's been a stable part of our community for so long. And on behalf of EDC and the community, we hope that it can rebuild, because businesses are important here.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean? Just as a way to kind of acknowledge that, because I think that's what we need to do, is just elevate to people that businesses provide services that you need. And that's where we started out, right? With that whole ashfordbusiness.org website, where we had the listing of all the businesses and the services, and then we turned that responsibility over to the ABA. So now it's kind of heart-wrenching to know that maybe that will go away. So again, it's in terms of the strategic plan, maybe one of our key strategies for this year is just determining who have we got for businesses, what kind of businesses are there, and who wants to be promoted as such, right? Who wants to be listed, and just get a list together that we post somewhere publicly.
Yeah. Did you notice that the post office plaza is for sale?
It has been for a while, hasn't it? I mean,
I drive by there and didn't notice the sign, but it looked, maybe it was a new sign or something. But it looked like maybe they took up a new realtor or something to market it, but yeah, I don't know.
Right, yeah, and then the other thing I wondered about from an update, did you ever hear anything more from the restaurant folks?
Yeah, I did. I communicated both with the owner and the person that was looking possibly to do it there, and they had gone ahead and engaged SBA relative to financing and things like that, and then determined that they were going to work on some things to kind of better position themselves for it. And I know that the property owner too had said that he was still had an open communication, was willing to do some things. So I remain hopeful, but I think unfortunately it's probably something that's not going to happen this year.
Yeah, it's a slow burn.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it was a great idea. I mean, it was another restaurant. It was something that I'm not necessarily a Cajun person eater, but it definitely as a food that has a draw and a crowd, and to add some diversity. I mean, they do other things obviously, but so I was kind of excited that was a possibility, and they seemed pretty enthusiastic. But the timing for them isn't quite ready, and but I think the property owner was positioned to try to help and make it happen. But maybe I'll circle back with them and see how they're doing, because it's been probably like 4 months since I last communicated with the people that were looking at possibly doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you could, that would be great. We just want them to know, right, that we're eager and interested, and, because that's the kind of, we need some kind of positive thing like that to hang our hat on. And
yeah, no, every once in a while you get something that comes across on that could benefit different marketplaces, and I did pass along to the young lady that some information I had, and she felt that it was helpful and was thankful for it. But yeah, I agree. I mean, that's another thing I think we need to do, is really kind of more focus. There's things we could be doing in maybe positioning the town relative to helping businesses grow a little bit. And to me, I think, I've always believed that we talked about the incubator thing 10 years ago, but some of these home businesses may be ripe, even though times are changing with COVID, but to grow out and expand, and maybe those are some things that, through whether it's incentives or what have you, we may be able to help people kind of bridge that gap between what they're doing now and growing a little bit better. But I think that's something I think we'll get everybody in, show up to a meeting, and we can talk about some of those little strategies, because I think if we don't start doing some of that stuff, I mean, we're pretty status quo with the tax base here, and nobody wants their taxes to go up. And the flip side of all this is that planning and zoning is in all the state towns have been under mandates for affordable housing, and a lot of people think that's low income housing. There's a difference there, and I think we don't want to. We want Ashford to be affordable for people. We don't want it to be an exclusive community, and but you have to figure out ways to do that so that taxes are part of that equation as well. So we have to do something in within the confines of keeping this a rural community that everybody loves. But we need to also grow some of these other types of businesses that'll pay part of the rent, so to speak.
yeah, and Catherine did mention that there's still $400,000 in unspent ARPA money.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even after the going through that list and approving, that there is still some unspent. So I still don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for us to, but of course, the ARPA money, it has to be tied specifically to COVID, right? So to offer some sort of a general incentive, but I've always felt like, can you do some sort of a match for improved signage or improved landscaping or improve, like what?
Right.
So yeah, I think so. That's what we need to do is just come up with our own strategic plan for what businesses need. But I think we need to talk to a few businesses to sort of get that too, right? To get that input. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're obviously a business person, and what my impressions of the few businesses that I went around talking to, and they were they were happy to see somebody from the, you know, a town or from the town speaking with them.
Yep.
But most businesses feel like, I know my business. I don't know, I really need somebody from the outside, especially a government through an agency helping me. So, you know, I've, you know, that to me has always been the challenge is, you know, you have to do something that you feel is going to be an asset to a business, and not be something that you're trying to nose into. They feel like you're nosing into their business and trying to tell them how to run their business, you know. So I don't know how, I don't know that niche and how to, you know, I thought about it long and hard many times, and I just, I think there's some incentive programs or things that are added to, you know, that make them more visible. You know, helping their business from a marketing perspective is probably one of the things I think, you know, if they, you know, they have more of a communal type of product, you know. I don't know.
And then lastly, and I missed the deadline for last Thursday, but I'm still inclined to do it and send it along. So the Eastern, I think you know, we've talked about this, the Eastern Regional Tourism District, known as Mystic Country, they've had enough pushback from all of the towns within that Eastern region. So they're beginning to try to figure out how to split up into 3 sort of sub marketing groups for tourism purposes. And so they had done, you know, some name exercises for, you know, what to call these subcategories and like that. But in the meantime, they put out a call for itineraries for the Eastern region. So it's a little bit of what we had talked about before, this sort of driving trip. So if you're coming to Eastern Connecticut, if you're coming to Ashford and you want to spend a day or you want to spend a weekend, you know, it's kind of writing about all of the things that you might do there. So I am planning to draft one for Ashford that will be a combination of hiking, right, and talking about our Joshua's Trust trails or the Nipmuc Trail, you know, grabbing a sandwich at, I was going to say Smitty's, at Cash's. Unfortunately, right now, the midway dinner is not part of it, but, you know, the including the wooden spoon somehow, obviously a stop at the distillery, you know, hitting the farmer's market on Sunday morning, you know, just like where we kind of write about how you could fill a weekend, you know, here with, you know, with Yukon being close by or, you know, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to just draft it and see what they can come up with, you know, whether they end up using it at all, I don't know, but I want us to be a player. But one of the questions that I have with town hall is every community is supposed to have a tourism representative, and who was our last one? And, you know, Dick keeps thinking that it's Bob, but it's not Bob. I mean, we appointed him, he took an interest in that area. So I guess, you know, we need to find out, and if not, find someone, right, to play that role. And that could be Jasmine, you know, Jasmine could be a great advocate for that. But I still feel like the CT visits and this, and the Eastern region tourism plugging into CT visits is still the best free value for our,
I agree,
for our businesses. So, so I had thought I would get that done for last week and I didn't, but, you know, I may send it to them anyway. And if they don't use it now, they could use it in the spring. You know, it's not like it's a one and done deal.
Right. Okay, that sounds good. I'm glad. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah. Well,
you're doing more than your fair share of things, that's for sure. So,
well,
thank you.
Trying to do a few things, but I wish I don't have a lot of time to spare. So, but I'm happy to, you know, just to get this whole communication thing back on track and to use Shante for her talents, you know, and then just bundle that together. I think that's important. So.
Okay, so she's all good to go with everything at this point?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to continue working with her on staying ahead with stories. And I kind of prompted her, I said, you know, maybe we need to do a big company like PIF, you know, because I don't think we've ever featured them, the PIF products people. or, Cool Grind. I don't know if we've ever done a story about them, like some of the more significant businesses. So I'll talk to her more about that. Just to keep them in the pipeline. And then I just asked her to send us kind of an accounting and I don't know what form this is in, if it's maybe against the invoice or, but just to show, that she spent so many hours and calling people and writing and posting to the website, and just so that we can, see where she's at on the credit. And then when it's the right time for her to start invoicing us in this year.
And I don't know have they replaced it? I haven't asked Cheryl Baker. Have they replaced? I don't even know who's doing that job right now. Maybe the first selectman's office. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I popped into the town clerk's office today, but I was there pretty close to 6, so I didn't dilly dally. And I thought about going upstairs just to say hey, but it was a little close, so I didn't.
Okay, well, hey, keep smiling, okay?
Yeah. And, but, we'll be in touch over the next, couple of weeks as anything happens. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Take
All
care.
right. Take care. Thank
You
you.
too. Thank you.